here for another chat and learn here with Power to Fly. My name is Mariella, and I am very, 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 very interested and excited about this next hour that we're about to roll into. So with that said, I just want to go over some quick housekeeping rules so that everyone feels comfortable, confident, and that they can share their voice here in the next hour. And then I'm going to pass the mic to our guest speaker so that she can take the floor and share all the beautiful knowledge that she has to share with us today. So you all are going to see hours going to fly by like this. So with that said, I'm going to sound like a broken record throughout the chat. I want you to always feel comfortable turning your cameras on and taking yourselves off of mute whenever you want to share your voice. So I've muted everyone upon entrance just to avoid any background noises, but I can't stress enough, we want to hear from you. So feel free to turn your mutes off, turn your cameras on so that we can hear from you. If you do come off of mute, you will be featured in our live recording. And then I know that we are like super multitaskers these days, but I would really ask for your presence so that you can rewatch this video and take notes later on Power to Fly. But I would love for you to, hold off on taking notes, stop multitasking if you can, be present with us for this next hour so that we can really roll through these awesome questions that you have submitted offline. If anyone has any sensitive topics and wants to be kept anonymous, you can find me in the chat box under Mariella. You can write to me anonymously and I'll flag that to our speaker. And then the last thing that I'll say is that we would love for you to follow us on socials and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can keep up with all the great chats we've got coming up. Without further ado, I'm going to pass the mic to our guest speaker calling all the way just outside of Tel Aviv in Israel. Moan, you are a phenomenal woman. I've done a little bit of research on you already, and I'm super excited to jump into all the great things you're sharing with the world today. So tell us a little bit about yourself, how you came to know about Power to Fly, and what you're excited to share with us today.
Hi, Mariella. First, for starters, I'm really, really, really excited and happy to be here tonight. Here in Israel, it's 8 p.m. And I actually came across your platform only a month ago. A good friend of mine, Tamar Rucham, which is going to be hosted tomorrow evening, she introduced me to Nicole, and I absolutely loved your platform. I think it's great, and I'm super honored to be hosted. So let me tell you a little bit about me. So my name is Moran Weber. I'm an Israeli social entrepreneur and the CEO and founder of Women on Stage. Women on Stage is a global community platform to showcase, book, and train women tech speakers for any event, conference, meetup, or webinar. For my personal background, I'm a software developer. I've been in the tech industry for the past 10 years. And I was actually working at Wix for many years. I left about a year ago. And other than that, I'm also a social psychologist. I have a master's degree in social psychology, and I'm mainly specializing in gender studies. And before we start with the questions, I really want to share with you my story and how I created Women on Stage and how it all started for me. So if you can switch to the next slide, Mariella, thanks. So yeah, in this photo, that's me speaking at a tech conference about 2 years ago. And I just want to say that I used to have major stage fright, and I had major imposter syndrome, working in a male dominant profession for many years. I was really afraid to raise my voice, and I was kind of shy and an introvert, always sitting in the back, not speaking too much. And actually, I just want to say that I must admit that it never goes away. I mean, I still have it some way. I'm still a little anxious right now, even when it's virtual. But for starters, you get used to it, and you get better at it. And I really feel that it's like taking me out of my comfort zone, and it brought me to do so many things that it's I think it really changed my career. So how it all started, how I started to overcome that stage fright. About 3 years ago, they had a presentation skills, a woman-only presentation skills workshop at Wix, at my previous workplace. And this particular workshop is really interesting because they used to have presentation skills workshop that were open to everybody, but the women just didn't apply, and they were strictly men or maybe one or two women. And once they changed it and made it a women's only workshop, then suddenly it became a full house. And I was, yeah, definitely. And I was very eager to join that. I think that the women's only safe zone is a very common. I saw this phenomena happening in various occasions. When you say something is open for all, especially in male dominant occasions, usually the women just stay in the back. But when you approach them directly, suddenly they feel it's more inclusive and they feel more welcome. And from that being said, I want to say that I want to invite more women, and especially more women of color, and more non-binaries and LGBTQ into my platform of Women on Stage. But that's just a side note, because I think it goes to this particular rule goes to many occasions of when you speak about diversity in general. But that particular workshop was, I think it was very life-changing for me, because it was a very warm environment, and I had a lot of mentors and a very supportive group. And I came to realize that not only that I can do it, I'm actually quite good at it. And it really surprised me to find that out. So I started to speaking at local meetups about various issues, and I actually founded Women in Tech Forum meetup series. It was a very successful meetup series in Tel Aviv. And we used to host many women tech speakers. It was women-only speakers. And they were talking about diversity-related issues and technical issues, soft skills, and stuff like that. And I got to know so many of these talented women, and I became a mentor myself, and I was helping them to prepare their presentations, and I was guiding them through their slides and helping them. And I started speaking also at tech conferences, and then I saw that there are many tech conferences out there, or panels. Some call them manels, that there are only men present, and or tech conferences when you have like 15 men or only one or two women on the list. And when you would ask the organizers, why you don't have any women on your list, and they would always say, well, we've searched, but we couldn't find anyone, or there isn't anyone who knows about these issues. Women they just don't apply. They don't know about these issues. And so if you remember the women only workshop, when you say it's for women only, I remember that. And it really pissed me off, those excuses. And I wanted to prove them wrong. I wanted to show them that there are many, many, many talented women out there. And because I personally know so many of them, I used to help them, and I used to host them on my meetup group. So I created the Women on Stage platform as a side project. I just wanted to create a website, a place for women to register themselves and to say, okay, I'm open for speaking opportunities. And actually, it was not so long ago. It was only 4 months ago when I launched the platform, and it's gotten quite viral. I mean, actually, it got insanely viral so quickly, and I was absolutely astonished, really, and honored that so many talented women from all across the world signed up, and it grew really, really, really fast. And that's what brought me here today. And well, that was just I started from A to Z. I really did it quite fast, but that's the evolution of my story, of how I started the platform. So anyone who's joining us, you're welcome to check it out. You're welcome to follow us on Facebook or on LinkedIn, and tag and invite and share with other amazing speakers, because there are so many others out there.
Absolutely. How beautiful. Well, congratulations, first of all. And we talked a little bit when we were backstage preparing to go live about, well, first of all, you're doing a great job. And I know that, we talked about nerves and speaking, and how even when we do it virtually, it's still there. And it's totally resonating in the way that you've been able to produce this platform with putting intention behind something, and how this is even something like a side project that I hope will be, or has pushed its way more into the front because of the necessity and the integrity and the global impact and the global need. I love that, just like opening the door, you have this overwhelming amount of people that are like, I'm here too. And I totally agree with you, and being pissed off that people are like, it's hard to find women, or it's hard to find Black women, or it's hard to find binary people. It's like, you're probably looking the same ways that, historically speaking, the people like diverse folks have not been in those situations. So you have to be a little more creative, and you have to take time. There's another rhythm that comes with searching specifically for rhythm and diverse people. Sorry, it's specifically with women and diverse peoples, right? You can't just press a button and then, hope and expect everyone comes. You have to talk to people, show your vulnerability. I love that the piece that you wrote on Hacker Noon, I read some of that as well, which is great. That went viral as well. With just speaking about visibility. I love speaking about visibility as well, because, if someone doesn't look like me, if I don't feel like I have a connection with potentially being able to be a leader in this industry, it's probably because I'm not seeing people who I can identify with. And of course, we don't want to stay stuck in our identity bubbles, but we do want to show folks that, hey, women can do this too. Binary people can do this too. Black and brown, BIPOC people can do this too. So I really just want to applaud you for your courage, and for, the endurance. I think that's the special word there also, right? The endurance that it takes to start a platform like this. So with that said, you all have submitted some great questions offline, and we're calling from all over here. If you're just joining us, let us know where you're calling from, right in the chat box. We can see just, the global necessity to get these questions answered. I'm calling from Argentina and Buenos Aires, originally from California. Of course, our guest speaker is calling just outside of Tel Aviv in Israel. We've got folks from California, Israel on the line, Buenos Aires as well. So let us know where you're calling from in the chat box, so we can give you a shout out a little later. And then we're gonna roll right into these questions. If you see your question come up on the screen, feel free to write in the chat box or come off of mute, so that our guest speaker can dive in deeper there. If this is not your question and you want to respond, or you had a dream last night, or you just, you have a tip or a trick please feel free to use the chat box or come off of mute to share your voice. I can't stress enough. We want to hear your voice. We want to lift your voice. And now is the time to put things into practice. We're here for the hour, so let's really maximize our time. All right, so let's start with this first question here. Can you tell us about women on stage? I know you spoke about it a little more, but feel free to dive in deeper here. And how can we participate, and do you accept speakers outside of tech?
So I think I covered the first part of the question, but regarding how can we participate? So if you're a speaker, I really encourage you to register yourself. It's free, and if you're not a speaker and you know other great speakers, please invite them. And regarding if I accept speakers outside of tech, not all speakers are technical speakers, but all of them are working in the tech industry in different positions. So the platform is focused to the tech industry in general. So that's my main focus there.
And I love that even with your background, I mean, the word, when we think about the industry of technology, I guess sometimes we think of it in a very linear left brain way, like technology. But in my opinion, and I love when I meet folks like you who show the importance of having different backgrounds and bringing that into tech, for example, psychology, or, using emotional intelligence through creative arts. I love when folks do a career pivot from like literature and performance to being a developer, because that's a really interesting perspective to start to put into the world of technology. So I love, for example, when I am called to speak at different conferences and summits, I love to speak about emotional intelligence, just because it's like, we need to practice that a little more in the way that we're developing technology. So, I love that you aren't limiting it just to, technical skills and speaking solely on that. Of course, we need to learn about that, but I love that you're, as long as you're influencing tech and working in tech, your voice is important. So thank you for highlighting that.
Actually, I couldn't agree more with what you just said. And I was planning to talk about it a little further on. So no, maybe.
No, jump right in. You jump right in.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go with the flow.
Okay. So for many years, I used to be embarrassed and actually to hide the fact that I also studied psychology. I thought it makes me less technical, and I thought it makes me people treated me like I'm not really good at my job if I have that background. Oh, so you're probably more of a people person. You're probably not. You're not very technical, are you? And that happened because when I first finished school, I studied. I had two majors. I had both computer science and psychology. And when I first finished school and I had my first job interview, it was pretty traumatic for me, because the interviewer, he read my resume. He was sitting in front of me. He read my resume. He didn't even ask me any questions, and he saw I also studied psychology, and he started to laugh and said, I'm wasting his time, so maybe we should just call off the interview. Just because he saw I studied psychology. He said something like, what are you going to do? Are you going to diagnose the computer, or some stupid joke like that? But it made me feel like, wow, okay, so maybe that's a bad thing. And for many years, I used to hide that, because I thought it's not a good thing and I should probably keep it to myself. But that actually changed in one of the first lectures I gave. It was the picture from before when I'm smiling. That's that question, that talk I gave. I was speaking about how psychology can actually cognitive psychology can actually help you write better code, because it is human beings who read the code, and not only computers read the code, it is people who also read the code. And you should write code that any developer can write code that a computer understands, but only good developers write code that humans can understand. So that's how I decided, and that's how I made up my mind that I'm not going to hide it anymore. Rather than, from now on, I'm going to use it as my secret superpower. I have this tool that nobody else has, so I'm going to use it, and I'm not afraid to do that anymore.
Yes. Well, I congratulate you, and I hope that some folks are listening now. You know, don't stay in the closet with your special holistic version of seeing, you know, technology or wanting to contribute to this industry, because yeah, hopefully more people like the guy who interviewed you are, for lack of a better word, a dying breed, and they will become dinosaurs soon because of movements like this that are, you know, reigniting the holistic way of seeing how we can balance things out and share more voices. I'm going to stay on this just a little longer. So I read in your beautiful essay on Hacker Noon this concept of thinking of starting from the bottom and the top, instead of just thinking we need to funnel from the top or funnel, you know, start from the bottom up. And you have this dual approach, which I find very interesting, and not so linear and not so, I don't know, technical, I guess we can say, because I'd love to hear from you as far as why you decided to share the importance of, you know, influencing diversity in tech, specifically with women, and how we need to start from the bottom and from the top in order to achieve that. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Okay, so I think what I was speaking about in the article is that I think people always ask me how can we attract more women into tech positions in our company. And I mean, it's very similar to the speakers' problems that they say we've searched, but there aren't any relevant women. So it happens in tech positions as well. So just by saying that you want to make a difference and that you want to change some stuff, that won't be enough. You need to combine a top-down approach and a bottom-up approach. You need to start. You can do like little things, like changing your job descriptions, and you can do small things, which I call quick wins, to attract more women and other diverse folks into tech positions. But that's not enough, because it's like, you know, it's like a small patch. Even if you have more diverse people entering your company, but then they see your company is not inclusive enough, and they don't feel welcome, and they don't feel like they actually belong, you won't be able to retain them. So you need to change things. You also need to change things from within, and you also need to change things on the fundamental level. And that's harder to do. It takes more time, but you have to do it both ways in order for things to actually start to change.
I agree. Couldn't agree more. And we've just got some folks in the chat box ringing your praise. So I just want to say here, we've got someone else who is career transitioning from psychology to software development. And so, you know, I'm sure you can keep that in mind as you're reflecting on some of your journey and all of the beautiful things you're working on today. And so also Katie here writes, once a technology is created and put out into the world, it won't matter until real people use it. So just to your point about, you know, knowing how to write code from a diverse perspective and bringing that into code so that, you know, it can be interactive with humans essentially. So let's move on to this next question here, just so that we can see how we can support the community that you're building. So can we become a part of the community to cheer these other women on and support them?
Obviously, sure, of course. So you're more than welcome. Can you go back to the slide I wrote the LinkedIn page and the Facebook page? So you're more than welcome to follow us there and to visit the website and register to our. We don't have a newsletter yet, but we'll have one in the future. So you're more than welcome to follow, and we will share as soon as I have something new. It's actually, it's pretty hard because I'm doing like a million things at once currently, but I'm trying to do it all, and I'm super thrilled and excited. I think I finally found my true passion and the thing that I really the thing that inspires me the most.
Awesome. So I guess what we can do now is we can, you know, follow Women on Stage on socials, and anything that we see Moan post, we can repost or we can give comments so that we can, you know, support in that way socially. I know that we're in different parts of the world, so we'll be looking out for that beautiful newsletter as well whenever that comes around. All right, so let's move on to this next question here. Again, if you see your question come up on the screen, please feel free to chime in. Okay, so why did you create Women on Stage? We talked about this, so if you want to dive in deeper, please feel free to do so. Was there a personal experience that made you feel this was necessary? So again, you did speak about this. If anything else you want to add on, let me know. Otherwise, we'll go on to the next question.
Let's go on.
Okay, perfect. All right, so this is great. What made you leave your safe job and chase this important cause while dealing with the difficulties of being a sole founder? So you just spoke about, you know, the quality of the work that you're doing, but also the quantity of the work that comes with that, right? So how do you navigate these waters?
It's hard. It's hard, but as I said, I feel like I really found my place. But what made, about the first part of the question about what made me leave my safe job, actually it was a very hard decision that I took, and it started on well, unfortunately it started on bad terms, not because of them, because of me. Unfortunately, I got sick. Not COVID, it was before COVID. I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer, and I had an autoimmune thyroid here, and I had an autoimmune disease in my throat. So it's hard. It's still hard to talk about, but I was devastated, and I was feeling really bad for a long time, and I felt like my voice had been literally taken away from me. So I've decided that for starters, I decided that I just need to take some time off. I really loved my job, and they were very supportive, but I just felt like I need to rethink my life, and I was very young still, and I decided that it's like a wake-up call to start recalculate my life. And I decided that I want to, you know, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. So I decided that if I feel my voice had been taken away from me, what I want to do, my real passion is to help other women raise their voices, and I want their voices to be heard. So, you know, that's like the spiritual explanation of what brought me there. But Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. That's I think that it's, and we spoke a little bit about visibility offline and in the beginning of this chat, and I think that I know that it's something you're still working with, recovering, and just like, you know, seeing the world from a different lens. As you said, you had to do some reflection and being with yourself. And I think it's so important, just as with visibility, that to, if you feel called to touch into your vulnerability, to share that, so that folks who are, you know, going through some similar wellness balance issues can see these beautiful success stories of, you know, being able to take your power back in a different way. So thank you, Moan, for sharing that. I appreciate you. And yes, I love that expression, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. I love that expression because I feel like it is a universal truth, or a universal, at least a universal call to action. You know, maybe all of us don't get to make the lemonade, but I think that the journey of seeing the lemon, whatever that is in your life, that can come in different forms and shapes and sizes, and trying to find the light in that. So you have produced a beautiful baby because of it. And so I congratulate you again for your courage. And I just wanted to congratulate you on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
it takes some time, you know, it's not like it didn't happen in a day. It's a process. And I just decided that I don't want to be devastated anymore. I want to turn it into something good. And it's actually pretty amazing, because once I started handling it, and once I started, you know, writing and creating and speaking, I started to feel better and better. And it's like my disease was just getting better. So I'm all well now, and I caught it early. Don't worry, everybody. But yeah, I think many times disease can be emotional, and they come after dealing with things that aren't, you know, I had a hard time before, and I feel like I've really found the best place for me.
Good. And we see that in the way that you speak about your project and the way that you want to encourage others. I mean, what a beautiful platform to share. We've got some folks here in the chat box writing, sorry to hear about that. Glad you're doing better. You use that pain to power you. That is superb. Thank you for being so real and vulnerable. And I echo that. Thank you for being so real and vulnerable. You are an inspiration, someone else writes. And then, yes, we support you completely. And I hope that we are also seeing how vulnerability, emotional intelligence, self-awareness can lead to something great, like what Luan is doing with her platform. So if anything, I hope that this session is encouraging, and also that we also support Luan's work as well. Let's move on to this next question here. Love to dig a little deeper into the psychology aspect, as I see this person here who submitted the question is as well. So how has your psychology background helped you in tech? How do you recommend leveraging a psychology background to get into tech?
Okay, so regarding the first part of the question, I think I spoken a little bit about that. That's the question I wanted to speak about, the bad interviewer, and the presentation I gave about using psychology to write better code. But about the second part, I think. If you only have a background in psychology, I also think you can enter tech, because today people with a background in psychology can become can go into UX, and they can go into product management. I think at the end of the day, UX, if you have a background in design as well, and product management, if you understand how what people want, how do they think, what do they need, you need to speak with them in order to create the best products people actually want to use. You need to understand how people behave in order to track and analyze how they use software. So there are many ways you can leverage psychology into getting into tech. So I think today I understand that perfectly, but I wish someone had told me that 10 years ago when I finished school, because I think it would be easier for me back then.
Well,
but I strongly recommend it. And in general, I think you said it before, Mariella, about I don't remember what you said, maybe literature, but I think versatility in general is super important into, when you create like in the food industry, when you have fusions and you mix when you mix things together when they aren't usually mixed together, it creates the best outcomes. I mean, I knew a woman who had a background in, she was writing poems, and she was just transitioning to tech, and she analyzed the rhythm of her poems, or I don't remember exactly what she did, but she made like an amazing project analyzing songs and poems, and turned it into a machine learning model later on, and it was absolutely gorgeous and very, very interesting. So I really recommend, just bring your, if you, whatever it is, if you have something else, a hobby or something else that you're working on and you don't know how to combine it, try to create those fusions. It really creates the best outcomes.
I love that. Yes, fusions. The best of both worlds, right? And I'd love to hear your opinion, because I'm kind of late to the game, but I have been spending a lot of the quarantine reading Yuval Noah Harari's books and watching his presentations and hearing him, and specifically listening to like the live Q&A at the end of some of these presentations and debates. And I hear folks say, like, in regards to, where we are, how we are advancing technology at a super rapid pace, and we are we are super, we're being really irresponsible by leaving empathy and emotional intelligence out of the way that we build technology. So I find that these ways of, when you bring the fusion, as you say, to technology, how that can maybe, solve that problem of not being responsible and moving too quickly and not bringing the emotional intelligence or the empathy to the table. So I love that this woman that was able to use her writings to influence the way that she sees and uses technology. I'd love to hear you speak just a little bit about how you envision the future. I know that we are working now, like we're all going to get off this call and we are all going to try to be as mindful of the world of technology and try to infuse it with more inclusion and diversity, because that's what we're here to do, right? So I know we're going to do that when we get off the call. So seeing that more people are on that train, how do you envision the future of technology?
I'm not entirely sure how to. What do you mean?
It's a big question. Now that we are trying to be more inclusive with technology and we still have a long way to go, how do you envision the world of technology as we are becoming more inclusive? So do you think that things like emotional intelligence and empathy and these things that have historically been left out will now influence technology? For example, how do you envision, you can answer it however you'd like, just how do you envision the future of technology now that we're trying to make it more inclusive?
I think well, AI is not really my realm. I'm not that into AI, but um, I think that it still has a lot of problems. And when people out there, like the machine learning models, they are biased because people are biased and because the data is biased. So I'm hoping that the awareness of inclusivity will help people fix those models, so the models won't be as biased. But I think we still have a long way to go, and I really hope it will help fixing the biases of people as well. But I still think we still have some way to go, unfortunately.
Absolutely. We are currently making lemonade out of the lemons that have been passed on to us, historically speaking. Thank you for taking that big question. I appreciate you. Okay, so let's move on to this next question. And I also just want to flag to folks, we've got just a little over 15 minutes left. So if you hadn't had a chance to write in the chat box yet or come off mute, now's your time to shine. And until then, we'll go on to this next question here. So what kind of interest has the business world shown in this project, in your project? Have you seen any changes in terms of speakers for important events?
Well, actually, it's pretty cool because one of the first companies that approached me after I launched Women on Stage was Microsoft. And Microsoft told me, not yet, but we're working at it. So Microsoft approached me, and they really loved what I'm doing, and they told me they want to be a part of that, and they told me they want to help me bring it to the next level. And at the moment, we are creating Women Speakers Academy. For technical speakers. We're going to have the first Speakers Academy pilot soon. Really exciting times. So I think many companies will want to join in the future. But as I said before, I'm just I'm pretty much a one woman's show. So it's so I've had a lot of stuff going on simultaneously. So I have big plans for the business world in the future. And regarding important events, so yeah, definitely we already had a few major conferences in Israel and a few meetups that already used the platform, and a few dozen speakers that already spoken on various tech conferences, well, virtual tech conferences. But it's been going so fast, and it's so exciting. And I think you can see that I'm really still very excited about that.
Yes, it's palpable, the excitement, and it's we've got some folks writing in the chat box as well, singing your praises. So women all over the world are founding companies, which are good for people. Cheers to that. Tech really needs to be representative of all people on this planet. Absolutely, couldn't agree more. So I'm going to give a light pause here to see if anyone wants to come off of mute. We encourage you to share your voice. Don't be afraid. We want to hear from you. So I'll do like a light pause. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And I'll just hold for a light pause for you to unmute yourselves, and you can ask something yourself. All right. Well, we've got about just under 15 minutes left, so you still have some time if you want to write in the chat box or come off of mute. Until then, let's move on to the next question. Can you talk about the business model of your platform?
So I'm still developing that. As I said, the platform is currently free, and I intend to keep it that way. I want as many women speakers registering. I don't, but I'm thinking of creating special training and special additions that you can pay if you're willing to. And I want to create and I want to create partnerships with tech companies who want to train their women, and I want to create partnerships with tech conferences who want to invite more women on stage. And so that I have a few directions. I'm still exploring that, and I hope it will be successful.
Yes, awesome. Thank you for giving us some insight. And I love that this is happening in real time. And you said that you launched during the pandemic. Is that correct?
Yes.
Or just a little bit before?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
it's all happening now. And I think that the best thing to do is be fluid, right? About how things are evolving with you, and the way that things have been evolving with you. It seems to be perfectly what we need during these times. And it's great that, you know, you get that seal of approval, if you want to say that, you know, a big company like Microsoft reached out to you as you know, opened the waters to see what could come in. So yes, congratulations on that. All right, so let's move on to this next question here. Something I have noticed about the use of diversity in the workplace is that many companies show a desire to be diverse, but not always in every area. I find myself not just in one, but two categories that can qualify as diverse to many employers because I am a woman and I have a disability. I have spent a lot of my life being the first disabled person in my schools, workplaces, and social activities. How can I champion diversity while not being seen as, many people in the disability community say, the token cripple? Thank you also for sharing this question. If you're on the line now, we'd love to hear more from you. But I'd pass the mic to Moan now to hear your response.
I think that's a very good question, because it's like sometimes people from underrepresented minorities, it's like a catch 22, because they usually have to work twice or 10 times as hard as the average white guy to get where they are. But when they get there, they are told that they are there only as a token, or people think that they are there only as a token, or themselves feel like a token. But I want to say that's just not true. I mean, I have to tell you that I've been working in the tech industry for a long time, and I have never, ever saw someone who hires someone just as a token and not because they're good enough. I think the woman who wrote that should try to you should know that you're probably much better than most of the people around you, because you had to work 50 times as harder than them, and I'm sure you're qualified. I don't think people hire underqualified individuals just to say that they did. It's a business. No one will pay someone if they don't think they deserve it. So I think the best thing you can do is just feel good about yourself and know that you fought, and you're still going to fight a lot harder than others to stay where you are. But I think you deserve it, and I think you've earned it. You rightfully earned it. It's yours. Own it.
Yes, own it, and empower yourself. I mean, I know that most of us can speak about this, like being the first woman, being the first person of whatever, being the first. And I often bring this awareness to that moment, that present moment, because a lot of self-doubt or anxiety can come up because you feel like, maybe, am I the representative of all Black people? No.
Mhm.
Am I the representative of all women? No, I'm myself. And I happen to be a Black woman. And so I'm going to show you, my employer, my company, whatever, this is a partnership, And so what can you give me as well? I think that can also empower you to know that you should expect them to give you something as you are giving your time and your effort. So that can empower you a little more. But yeah, I know that tokenism is real, but it's also, I mean, I love that you speak about it also from, if I think it from like a psychological perspective, how I'd love for you to actually speak about it from like tokenism from a psychological perspective, if you can. I know that's a huge thing to ask right now, but just to help us be more mindful about it. Let's say some folks are listening and I feel like what you were saying has to do with a lot of bias. Let's say, like, if this woman was hired, in her opinion, she thinks that she was a token. Maybe there were some introvert biases happening that are always happening. So, is tokenism related to biases, and how can we approach it with a different mindset so that we are championing diversity and not letting that weigh us down?
I think, okay, so that's a hard question. I'm not sure if I have anything more to add to what I already said, but I agree. I mean, I think people, many times you will continue to feel like the first Black woman, and many times people will make you feel like you're representing the all Black people around you. So and many times people ask me questions like, I'm a representative for all women out there. I'm not. I'm myself. So you're right. There's that this leads to a lot of biases, and this leads to a lot of problems. And people usually have to fight and remind other people that they're themselves, and they're not the only person in the world who has to speak about all people from their group. But I think you just need to say it out loud. You need to remind people with a smile, and you need to say it. You need to say, like, okay, so I don't know, I should ask others. I'm just tell them you're yourself. And I think that once you say it, and you smile, and you like, when you make them feel like they said something weird, and you're not there representing everyone, many times they will say, oh, okay, so and just put the ball in their court for those times.
Absolutely.
I think
No, absolutely.
Was I clear?
You're absolutely clear, and it makes me think of emotional intelligence. I'm an EI nerd, so what I hear from that is,
What?
I'm an emotional intelligence nerd. I love to speak about it, and I try to, like, anything I hear, I try to bring it to how I can understand more about emotional intelligence. And in that situation that you just pointed out, putting yourself in the other person's shoes, or inviting the other person to put themselves in your shoes, is absolutely practicing emotional intelligence, right? And doing it with a smile so that it's not, adding to microaggressions or any conflict. So I thank you for bringing that up. All right, so let's move on to this next question here. We've got about 5 more minutes, so we'll take this question. I know time goes by so quickly. We'll take this question and then we'll close with you sharing anything else that you're working on and how we can support you so that we can hop off of this call and hop over to your platform. So how can we empower women in male-dominated places, workplaces in particular?
Okay, so there are so many ways that you can do that. As I said before, like the top down and bottom up approach simultaneously. So you can have empowerment workshops for women. You need to verify that you pay them equally. You need for the same positions. You need to verify that you compare all working terms for men and women, that they should be equal. You need to make sure that you have enough managers and that you have enough managers in every step and every level of management in your company. You need to make sure that the ratio of men and women, the men and women ratio, stays the same for every step of the funnel. You need to make sure it's also there in your board and in your higher management. You can have implicit bias training for your entire company and not just for underrepresented minorities. And there are so many things you can do. You can train more women to become public speakers, and that's another thing you can do. What else?
I find that so, like, for example, I know that we are all working a lot more on the internet during these days, just because we are spending less time out being social. So I find that social media, it can be super overwhelming, but the bright side to some of that is I see so many women empowering other women, and it's more of a staple now, and it's not just a trend. So I'll throw that in there as well to piggyback on your response, is to empower other women by highlighting them on socials and supporting their essays and their discoveries and their research and their work. I know that it makes me feel good when I see someone else, that what I've done inspires them, or that it made them see things differently. So I think that that's also a nice way to empower us in male-dominated workplaces.
Exactly. And I think women really love doing that. I mean, women really support one another, and they like to cheer one another. I think that's one of the most powerful things I'm trying to do. And I think that's the main reason my platform grew so fast, because I had so many talented women registering, and then telling their friends to register, or not registering themselves, but tagging other really, really talented women that they know. And I think many women suffer from the confidence gap. So we usually find it very hard to speak highly of ourselves. We were raised this way, and so we usually think very low of ourselves, and but it's very easy for us to encourage and to speak highly of other women. So I think we should really, really take advantage of that and highlight one another, so we can actually have more female role models and more successful women out there celebrating one another. And that's actually, I think it's nice to end with that, because I think that's my main message here. That's what I'm trying to do.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. Congratulations on starting this project. Thank you for sharing it with us. And then tell us how we can find you on the web, on the internet, or on socials, so that we can hop over there after this call.
Sure. So it's womanonstage.net and womanonstage.net on Facebook or on LinkedIn. So please follow, tweet, and share. I'm here.
Yes.
Waiting for
Thank you for being here. Yes. Thank you for being here. And thank you everyone for joining us in this past hour. Time flies, but I'm so happy that you all could stick around and put your questions and comments into the chat box. So thank you again. Stay safe, everyone, and we'll see you on the next chat. Bye.